fact or is it fiction? My name is Cindy McDonald, and I'm going to be your presenter for today. I am an educator and an entrepreneur. I'm a UCLA instructor for college counseling certificate program. Many of you have probably been in my classes. Many of you have heard me speak on other occasions. I love being able to present and talk and share these topics that we all have a vested and passion for. I have a degree in behavioral science and a master's in education. I have over 30 years of experience as a consultant, 20 years as experience as a trainer, and over 10 years of experience working with students and administrators in schools. I'm the founder of 2 businesses and 1 nonprofit group. But what about you? What prompted or motivated you to be your own boss? I want you to think about this for a moment and then see if one of these choices fits into what motivated you to be your own boss. To have more time with my family? Check. To manage my own schedule? Check. To start a second or third career? To have control over my income, to serve more students and families. How many of these from A, B, C, D, or E fit into the reasons that you started your own business? Many of us start our own companies, our own professional practices with multiple reasons in mind. So think about what your answer is. And my question is, are you reaping the benefit? Are you reaping the benefits of what you saw when you were becoming self-employed? What do the studies show us? A UK study found 56% of entrepreneurs choose to work for themselves to enjoy a better work-life balance. So that's a reason. All of these things we stated, those are all reasons that we use to create our own businesses to create a better work-life balance. But are we succeeding? A Harvard Business School study showed 94% of the service professionals put in 50 hours or more a week. That's a lot of hours. A study of 1,000 freelance or self-employed workers found they typically find themselves on duty, quote unquote, for 13 hours a day, looking at their first work email at 8:01 a.m. and their last at 8:55 p.m. Does this sound like you? So, one of the things we were wondering about is what are the frustrations that we all share when we are trying to find this work-life balance. And this was the motivation behind a survey that was shared a few weeks ago. And many of you shared what your frustrations are in that survey in trying to find work-life balance. Your comments were things like, I have an unpredictable schedule. I have little or none personal time. I have troubles finding balance between family and work needs. I have troubles letting go. I want to be the one to do everything. I have troubles delegating. I'm working 2 jobs. Unrealistic client demands. All of these comments all revolved around time. How do I manage my time? So let's look at what the actual work-life survey was and who participated and what the outcomes were. So the participants, we had 368 participants, over 100 responses in the first 24 hours. Where did they come from? How did we find them? We posted it on Facebook groups. We were able to post it on professional organization listservs. We added links in emails to the survey. So we were able to distribute it pretty widely and throughout the industry. We wanted to see what the average caseloads were. Now, a caseload was the number of seniors a consultant worked with on an annual basis. So We're just talking about the senior load, not your full 4-year student load. And there was quite a range from small, 21%, and that's less than 10 students, to corporate size, 100 plus, and that was 7%. You can see from the graph the most frequent size was the medium. We had 42% in that 11 to 24 students range. But I think it's interesting to note that as our profession expands and grows, we're going to have more and more people in that extra large to corporate range. So what were the demographics? What kind of people participated in the survey? We had a range of experience. 74% had at least 5 to 10 years of experience. We did have a little over a quarter of those that had 0 to 4 years. Although I know I talked to a few people and they felt like they just launched their practice. We had several people at institutes and things this summer. They felt like they didn't quite have enough experience or knowledge to really adequately answer the questions. So I told them wait a year and then come back and do the survey. The team size, how big of a team do you work with? 80% were small, from 1 to 2 people. 15% was medium, but that number of team size growing is to 10 or plus. That number is growing. So I think in the next few years we'll see that number shifting as well. Where do you work? Does it make a difference in work-life balance if you're trying to do it at home and you've got toddlers that you're or teenagers that know you're at home versus my office or your client home, public places, other? It was pretty almost evenly split between working from my home and working from my office. So that's another trend that we can watch in the future in terms of where your workplace and how that affects work-life balance. But in terms of this survey, there was really no significant difference because it was almost equal in terms of the number of people that did work from home and work from their office. So what about your workload? How does that workload, what does that look like? And is there a difference between our different seasons? So we asked the question, what is your workload during application season? I think many of you will be very happy if you fall into this top category to know that you're not alone. Over 8-hour workdays are pretty common for consultants during the application season. We all are working with students, we're all writing, reading essays that students have written, we're managing all of the different parts, juggling all of that. So our average work day overwhelmingly is 8 hours or more. So that's definitely points to the application season as a heavy time. Now, what about non-application season? Still, a number of people report that they still work over 8-hour days, 15%. 39% work 6 to 8 hours days, but 46% say they work then less than 6 hours in the off seasons. So that's an interesting report, a statistic to note in terms of the difference between the amount of hours you put in during the application season versus non-application season. So what about managing that work life? How do you do that? What do we do to help manage that? So there were a lot of studies that have done, and there are a lot of indicators that are used to show how we manage work life. We selected just a few of them for this survey, and one of them we selected was having a dedicated time for lunch. How many of us take time and set out time to take lunch just on our own without having lunch with a friend or a colleague? 70% said almost never or never. 17% said sometimes. 13%, only 13% of us take that time to usually or always have a dedicated lunch time. I think that's very significant and very commendable to those 13% that are able to do that. Do you have a specific start and stop time to each day? 58% said not at all. 32% said, yeah, sometimes I can do that. 10% said yes. And this is another indicator that we can use in our lives to see if we're maintaining work-life balance. Do you have a specific start and stop time to each day? Last year, I did an interview with David Crenshaw. He is the author of the book, The Myth of Multitasking. He also has written several other books, and he teaches courses on link learning, e-learning, and is a professional in helping busy professionals to learn how to make more use of their time and be organized. And I asked him, how do you try to get everything in a day? And this was the one tip that he gave, was make a specific start and stop time to each day. So it's something to think about. And it's something we're going to talk about again in a few moments. How do you manage your personal time? Think about the reasons you got into this business and what you're doing, how you're accomplishing that in terms of managing your personal time. How many of you have taken a week, 5 days at least, of vacation? 82% of the respondents said they'd done so in the last year. 10% said they'd done so in the last 12 to 24 months. So that's 92% have at least taken a vacation, 5-day or longer vacation the last 2 years. And 8% said, what's a vacation? Not having that time, not feeling that they have control over their schedule or their time in order to take a vacation. What about when you take that vacation, working? Do you work or do you not work? 27% of us said we always or almost always work. 23% said, yeah, sometimes I work. But significantly, when you take a vacation, you're good at taking a vacation. Said never or hardly never work during vacation, 50%. I think that's also very commendable. What about self-care? We know there are lots of things that we should be doing to take care of ourselves. One of those indicators is exercise. So the question was posed, do you exercise daily? Do you set aside time to exercise each day? 44% said always or almost always. 32% said never or hardly never. And then the rest of the respondents were kind of in the middle, where it says sometimes. What about personal activities? How many of us have passions, we have interests, we have things we're engaged in and contributing to in our communities and our profession? 18% said they participate in 6 to 7 days a week in a personal activity. 38% said 3 to 5 days a week, and 44% said 1 or 2 times. So those are some examples of self-care, and I'm sure you can think of other things. So those are all the types of questions we ask about, well, how do you maintain balance in your life? But how do you feel about that? So the next part is the look of balance for entrepreneurs. What does that look like? How do you prioritize? Do you have prioritization of personal or work life? How well do you feel you prioritize? 40% said they felt they prioritized well or extremely well. 39% said, well, I do it somewhat well. Only 21% felt like they were not prioritizing personal work life well. So that was just 21%. So prioritization is a big question to ask yourself. What about where you're at? What's your satisfaction level? Are you satisfied with the stage of life that you're in? Are you satisfied with your stage of business? So the first question is what status are you satisfied with the stage of your business currently at? 59% said yes, I'm very satisfied or extremely satisfied. 24 was satisfied. 17 said no, this is frustrating. I've got too many balls going in the air. I have little or no satisfaction. What's your stage of life? If the reason you're wanting to do this and the benefits you're wanting to reap, are you satisfied with where your stage of life is and being able to do that? 63% said, I'm very satisfied with my stage of life. 25% said, I'm satisfied. And there was 12% had little or no satisfaction. So that's another thing to think about. Am I satisfied with where I'm at? Have I prioritized my life and my time? So let's summarize what the survey found and what it teaches us about our profession and our role and how we perform as those professionals. We know from the survey and our own experience that our workload is cyclical. We do have an on-season with long hours, 10, 12, 14 hours, lots of long hours. But we also have that off season with off hours when we're only working 6 to 8 hours. And that's part of the time that we use to take time off, vacations, visit colleges, things like that. We also are not very good at daily self-regulating. Very few of us have a dedicated time for lunch or a specific start or stop time. So we like to give and give and give and like to make the most out of our day. So that self-regulating is something that we all can work on. We're good at taking vacation time, but not stopping work. So majority have taken at least a 5-day vacation in the past year, but 50% did, but 50% didn't know how to stop working even on vacation. So, that's another part of that self-regulating. So we're good at vacation time, but not stopping work. And I am just as guilty as everyone else and always working when I'm on vacation. We also recognize the need to exercise. We know it's important. We want to do things, but we don't always get it done as we should. We have a strong commitment to personal activities. Again, we want to do things. Over the half of the respondents spend regular time in pursuing areas of personal interest. So that's important, and that definitely contributes to the quality of your work-life balance. Common satisfaction. There is a common satisfaction with personal work-life balance. Majority feel they prioritize personal and work-life balance well, and only a small percentage feel they struggle with prioritization of their personal work life. So even if you're struggling, even if you're wondering, know that you're not alone. And if you're still feeling satisfied, I've still got things, I like this better than what I was doing before or the other options, there is that common satisfaction with personal work-life balance. And so that's very encouraging and heartening to see. Majority respondents indicated they were satisfied with their stage of business and their stage of life. So we're very fortunate to be in a profession where we can have that kind of satisfaction in both parts of our lives. So what can we do to help enhance that? What are some tips for success? That was one of the other questions we asked on the survey, and we got so many different tips. Ideas about managing workload, organization is the key, creating a productive workspace, setting priorities, using technology, managing communication. They all revolved around self-care and just maintaining your space so that you can work more effectively in your workspace. We also talked to some of your peers. I did 3 interviews, one with Rebecca Grappo, Christina Dooley, and Larry Blumenstick. And they each had very insightful tips and things that have worked for them. They all have busy practices, busy lives, are different stages, work with different kinds of students. And so those speaking with them and hearing them share their tips and their tools will be very beneficial. And their tips and tools fed this webinar that we're doing today. We'll have the link for this on our website and the show notes so that you can find access to their full interviews. So what were some of the things that these three peers and the survey pointed to as tips and ideas for creating a work-life balance? One of the first things to do is set priorities. Who are your priorities? Is it family? Is it personal activities? Is it building your business? Before you can figure out where you want to be or what you want to do, you have to figure out what you're all about. So make sure you identify. It can be through your business plan. It can be, through personal goal setting, vision casting, but set your priorities. And then create boundaries around your priorities. You need to communicate those boundaries up front in multiple places. For example, Christina talks about in her interview how she never does appointments on Sundays. I too do not do appointments on Sundays with my clients. And she tells everyone, they all know that she is not going to meet with them on Sunday. She's a busy mother. She has several children, and she sets that time aside as her family time. And so she communicates that in multiple ways on her website, interviews. Don't just put it in your contract and expect them to remember. Put it on your website, put it on your scheduler, put it in your emails, do it verbally. And so the more you communicate those boundaries up front and in multiple places, the more your message will be heard. Then you need to lead by example. Don't make exceptions unless it's absolutely necessary. People will ask me, oh, can you meet with us on Sunday? Like, no, I don't do Sundays. How about Saturday afternoon or Monday evening, or give them other alternatives, but try to lead by example. Christina talks about how people don't ask why they can't see their dentist on a Sunday. Why should they expect to see us as professionals on days when we're not established? Now, I know many people who only work on Sunday, or that's their main day for appointments, and that is great. But then maybe you're not working on a Monday, or there's another day that you set aside. So lead by example, and then also remind your family and clients of your boundaries. Here's what I can do. I'm available after this time, or I'm not available before this time. So if you create those boundaries around your priorities, you're going to find it much easier. You don't have to make the decision over and over again that I am not available, or I only do this on this day and this way. Manage time commitments. If you are not using a scheduler, that is number one thing you should do. Use Calendly. You can book me, Appointment Core, MindBody, and many other softwares have schedulers plugged right into them. I know College Planner Pro has one. Guided Path has an API to connect to any of the other schedulers that you want to use, and other programs may have schedulers as well. But they are something that will save you so much time and give you so much freedom. So manage your time and commitments, use tools, and that's part of creating that system support that we're going to talk about in a moment. Introduce your clients and friends and family to your scheduling system. I tell my clients all the time, oh, you need to meet with me. We had college night last night. Somebody came up to me and was like, oh, go to my website, click on my scheduler and set up an appointment. Brand new clients use it, and I end up with appointments through my scheduler for brand new clients that I've never even met or talked to. And I end up having them come in and I see them on my calendar, I prepare for them, they walk in the door. It is such a time saver. So introduce your clients, remind them in text and emails and on your website. Here's where it is. Here's where you go. I even have family and other people use my scheduler. Here's what my schedule is. Find a time that works for you. And so that's introduce it to clients, friends, and family. On top of that, create systems of support. Out of that 369, 368 responses we got, one of the most consistent messages is streamline your process, create systems. One of the most important things you can do is invest in yourself. Outsource work as much as possible. Doing a scheduler is outsourced. Having an online tool, a CRM, is outsourced. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. If you spend $50 a month and it saves you 3 hours of email, that's 3 more hours you can spend working with a client and actually bringing in more revenue into your business than the time you're using on emails or back office type of things. So remember, invest in yourself. Then streamline your office protocols or processes. Does everything have to be one-on-one? Are there email templates that you can create and send them out to your students and clients? Group webinars that you can record and post on your website that people can access instead of answering the phone 100 times, answering the same question. A lot of times people will offer workshops, writing workshops, things like that to bring in all the students together. I do writing workshops and I also do application workshops. I know that's not going to work everywhere, but in our area with my students, it works really well. And so think about ways, think outside of the box sometimes, and think about ways you can streamline your office protocols or processes. And then don't forget to enlist help. Don't forget to enlist support. Family, friends, clients, set up your appointment. Let's set up and meet every other Tuesday. Honey, can you fix dinner 2 nights a week? People are glad to help, and if they know exactly what you need, don't be afraid to enlist their help, and that'll help you create that work-life balance. Treat yourself as a VIP. Set a start and stop time to your day. And this is one of the things that Dave Grimshaw talked about. He says, I know I'm only going to work till 4 p.m. I know I have to get so much done by then, but then I'm going home and, I'm able to do things with my children and my family. So they know they can count on me after that time, and they can count on having my undivided attention. So set a start and stop time to your day. Schedule exercise, personal time, and keep it. If you're like me, I'll put it on my calendar. Oh, I'll do that later. Oh, I see I've got that. No, I'm going to use this time to do this email and I'll go for a walk later. But guess what? What happens? That walk later, that personal time later never happens. So schedule that time and keep it. And then make sure you include time for recharging and energizing. Research shows it's really important. It helps keep us motivated, keeps us from burnout, and it helps keeps us be more creative. And as entrepreneurs, it helps promote our moving forward in our businesses. And this coupled with that is taking time off on a regular basis. Schedule a vacation time in advance. Really disconnect from work while on vacation. Use an out-of-office calendar option. If you haven't found this, if you use Gmail and use a calendar function, I found this recently, and I'm sure there are other systems that use this, but it actually turns down meetings during your vacation. So you don't have to you just turn it on and it'll just automatically manage all of that. It is such a time saver, and it relieves stress and anxiety. People know why you turn down the meeting. They don't try to schedule things. If they do, it just comes back. It's very polite, but it's a great way to manage your time and manage that work-life balance. What's most important is for you to find your rhythm. To be successful in both arenas, both life and work, doesn't mean you have to keep equal hours at home and in the office. It means you have found a rhythm that fulfills both sides. That's your goal. That's my goal. Those are the reasons we all became entrepreneurs and independent consultants, is to reap that benefit and finding that rhythm. If you want to hear more and listen to the full interviews, go to YouTube. And this PowerPoint will also be shared in the show notes, and all you'll need to do is click on the links for the YouTube and you'll be able to watch the 3 interviews. We actually have 2 interviews with Rebecca Grappo because she came back and said, oh, I have another tip that I want to share. So she has a part 1 and part 2 with also interviews with Christina Dooley and Larry Blumenstick. And in order to find your rhythm, I want to invite you to participate in a Facebook Work-Life Balance 30-day challenge that I am hosting. So if you're already connected to us through Gmail or through Guided Path, through UCLA, through the Academy, we have several different pages that many people are connected to me through. Be watching for an invitation to this Work-Life Balance Challenge. If you know that you want to participate, just email me to get a link for the Facebook group, or you can do a search on Facebook. There's a couple of questions you have to answer, and I've already let people in. We are going to start this September 15th. All I'm going to ask you to do is pick one thing, one item that you want to work on, even during this busy application season, to help you find work-life balance in the next 30 days. So join me starting September 15th to do this work-life balance challenge. And thank you for letting me to be your presenter today as we talk about fact or fiction, work-life balance. Is it possible? I hope you see that it is possible, it is fact, and hopefully we've been able to give you some tools that can bring that about for you. Thank you.